to 0 against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Simply Bitcoin. It is July 1st. We made it through the first half of the year, guys. You know, might have been a rough 6 months of the first part of the year if you were overly bullish like everyone else. But I think we're seeing that the end of the year is going to turn around. And we even saw, like, over the weekend, over last night, you know, the Bitcoin price reacted pretty well to it. I even saw, for, you know, everyone in the chat to come join my trade group, I saw the MACD is reversing. So all of this is telling me, and we've been saying here for a while, that most likely towards the end of the year, we're going to get a good price reaction. But hey, if you're here, you're already a Bitcoiner. You already know the only number that counts is the sats under your control. So it might be a little bit of a, you know, crab market through the summertime, but I'm sure it's going to end up on a solid rest of the year. And even if you're looking at it on the yearly chart, you know, I don't know if you guys remember, but the Bitcoin price at the beginning of the year was $40,000 or 42K. And now we're at 62, 63K. And everyone's like, oh, it's so over. You know, Bitcoin price is done. There's not going to be any gains in the Bitcoin market. What am I doing here? I'm tuning out. I'm selling it all. And you guys know what we say. The only thing that matters is time in the market, not timing the market. And on that note, as you can tell from today's headline, we got a great clip coming out of Peter Thiel. He had an interview with Andrew Sorkin. It was like at the Aspen something event. And he said some interesting things. First and foremost, the main thing that most people were talking about on this clip was that Peter Thiel is no longer bullish on Bitcoin, allegedly no longer bullish on Bitcoin. He doesn't think there's going to be incredible gains in Bitcoin. And of course, here at Simply Bitcoin, we would counter that. Obviously, we believe that there's still incredible upside to Bitcoin. I don't know if you guys go out and talk to the normie world, but very few people out there are savage Bitcoiners, intelligent people out there, I would say, that understand how the world works. And if they get to that point, then they're obviously Bitcoiners. And I still talk to people and they have no idea what Bitcoin is. So we'll go into that portion of the Peter Thiel story. But I think the biggest part about this video coming out is his idea that Bitcoin may be captured. He's concerned, and he even kind of opens it up a little bit. He's concerned whether, now that we have the Bitcoin ETFs, not only will we potentially get some good upside on it, but he's also a little concerned that maybe the cypherpunk ethos of Bitcoin, maybe we've lost our way, maybe Bitcoin is captured. So as we're going to talk about today, and you can tell from the highlight or the headline, sorry, we're gonna talk about the idea of, did Larry Fink capture Bitcoin, or is he just following his incentive? Like we say here all the time, follow the incentives. And the incentives of Bitcoin are pure. Hence why we tell you guys every single day, you need to be running a node. You need to be taking your Bitcoin into custody, because just because someone has a lot of money, just because billionaires are getting into Bitcoin now, doesn't mean they have more control of the Bitcoin network, which is, you know, diametrically opposed to what you see in in the shitcoin land, completely opposite of what you see in the fiat, which is the biggest shitcoin land possible. So we're going to dive into that on today's show, but I'm going to tee you guys up before we get into the news portion of the show, which is, of course, the Peter Thiel headline. I found a great clip of American HODL, and you guys know I have a soft spot for HODL. He was like my big brother when I got into Bitcoin. He was yelling at us on Twitter about stacking. And I got a good clip coming out from, the Titcoin, you know, the Bitcoin podcast by Walker America. And I think it's a great culmination of what us Bitcoiners believe, why we're here on every single day at Simply Bitcoin, why you guys show up in the chat, why there's such a huge fervor around Bitcoin, is because we truly believe Bitcoin is going to change the world. And it literally is the meme, fix the money, fix the world. This is a peaceful revolution after all, and all you have to do is save in Bitcoin. Opt out of the fiat madness. Take your labor, your time, your wealth outside of the fiat madness. Save in Bitcoin. Take it into custody. Go get more skills. Make sure you're having more cash flow. And life gets better once you start working from Bitcoin fundamentals. So this is what today's show is going to be covering. And I'm not alone. As you can tell, It's your boy Opti. This is Simply Bitcoin, the #1 daily Bitcoin podcast. Well, it's a daily live show. Technically, it's a podcast. We're on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter. We're on all the socials, TikTok, Instagram. I know. But we're trying to get our message out to everyone out there. The whole world needs to know that there's a solution to the problem, and it is simply Bitcoin. So Nico's in, I believe it's Calgary. He's at the Bitcoin Rodeo right now. So he'll be gone till Wednesday. I'll be holding down the show with different co-hosts throughout the week, but you'll still get the same Simply Bitcoin show. You're stuck with Opti all week. So, hey, buckle up. You know it's going to be a fun time, but I'm not alone. And the last time I brought my co-host on the show, you guys absolutely loved him. At the time, this was the Simply Bitcoin Twitter intern, but he is no longer the intern. He is one of our superstars on the Twitter team. So if you follow the Simply Bitcoin TV account on Twitter, Bryson is one of the main person behind the account that is giving you guys all the news. He is a Zoomer. He's incredible. He's, a lot smarter than he looks. But shout out to Bryson. I love Bryson. Thanks for coming on, bro. This is going to be a great show. How you doing today?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me back on. There is no second best Bitcoin live show.
Let's go. All right. Well, guys, I will probably have to reel Bryson back a little bit. He's still learning the media game here, but he comes in with the sauce every single time he's on the show. I think this is your third appearance, so I'm super hyped for this one. We're going to give Bryson platform so he can rant and show you he's not just a pretty face out here, and he's not just a Twitter, he's not just our Twitter Zoomer out here. He's not just our Zoomer with the algos. He's actually incredibly smart. So I'm excited for today's show. And of course, it's not just a Simply Bitcoin crew today. We do have a guest, and I'm really excited for this one. We were cracking up behind the scenes. Shouts out to Finne, aka the World Mechanic on Twitter. I guess I would say the powerhouse behind the check engine light meme on Twitter. Yeah. Also an author. And we're going to be talking about that mainly today on today's show, downloading Divinity, which I think you guys are going to really enjoy. It's going to be a great conversation. But on that note, Jay, how you doing today, bro? Actually, let me full screen you. So, yep. We can talk about what you're wearing and maybe give the people why Bitcoin isn't a cult.
All right. So I appreciate you, Opti, for that. I love Simply Bitcoin, by the way. I decided to break out my little robes today. I think there's a real stigma in Bitcoin that, we're all just a bunch of cultists or whatever. It's not a cult. It's a holy covenant of check engine light disrespecters who are flipping the tables of the money changers. So,
let's go. I love it, man. All right, that's great. Okay, this is gonna be a great show. I'm already having fun. It's gonna be a good one. On that note, guys, you already know the deal. We have to make sure that we keep the lights on here at Simply Bitcoin. So you already know the deal. Make sure.
My gang already in the comments.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you. The chat savage, but you already know the deal. Anyway,
you guys are getting paid.
Yes, we do. And we get paid because of Bitcoin Well. Make sure you go to bitcoinwell.com/simplybtc. Sign up to Bitcoin Well. Buy real Bitcoin. They're on a mission to enable your independence with the latest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the US. They just rolled out in the US right when we started with them. And guys, if you're in Canada, you should be using Bitcoin Well. It's by far the best platform in Canada. And we're working on making it the best self-custody by default platform, period, on all of, we'll go with North America for now because we haven't expanded yet to the world. But you already know the deal. We love the boys over at the Bitcoin Well. Adam's the GOAT, the CEO. You guys see Adam all the time on our shorts. He's dropping that hot sauce. But go to Bitcoin Well. 1% spread, which is the industry standard. It's Bitcoin only. It's non-custodial by default. You literally need to have a Bitcoin wallet to sign up to Bitcoin Well, because that's the only thing that matters, guys. We need to ensure that people are taking Bitcoin into custody, and do that by going to bitcoinwell.com/simplybtc. And once you're in the Bitcoin Well dashboard, you already know the deal. You get your rewards. So every time you buy Bitcoin, you get some wishing well points. So I'm here on the dashboard. This is what you'll see when you sign in. Go in here to Bitcoin Well rewards, go into my rewards, and you will click the redeem. And we're going to spin it up right now. So Hopefully we don't get the million sats right now, guys, because I don't have my phone on me. But if we do, I'm going to get rug pulled. So you click and redeem 500 points. And, I got a cool little quote here, transporting you back to 1994 when The Lion King became an animated classic. Click the redeem, and a QR code comes up, and you get some lightning sats here. So what do we got here? Oh, it's not working. There we go. 500 sats. So scan it right now. Giving you sats today. First come, first serve. I'll leave this up for a moment, but shout out to the boys over at Bitcoin Well. They are on the mission to enable independence and become the best self-custody by default platform, period. This is the way, guys. This is the way. All right, on that note, let's get on today's show. We got a lot to talk about with you.
Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed.
Let's go. You already know the deal, boys and girls. Make sure you scan the QR code. We made it easier for you. What's Nick always say? Do not leave your seed phrase on a piece of paper in your sock drawer and have your grandchildren wonder, hey, grandpapa, why are we broke? It's because I ruined my seed and I lost all of your generational wealth. Do not get stuck in that position. Stamp your seed into titanium. All right, guys, let's get on to the show. Of course, I'm over here on Clark Moody's dashboard, bitcoin.clarkmoody.com/dashboard. And shouts out the BTC Believer, getting them free sats. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right, guys, let's get into the numbers. I got a new computer, guys, so my numbers are a little out of order. I think they're a little closer to what Nico's usually are. But of course, the Bitcoin price. Everyone is rejoicing right now. We're no longer in the gulags. I was hearing some calls for 40K Bitcoin, barely kissed 58K, and everyone, everything goes to shit. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's over. Well, the price has rebounded heading into the last 2 quarters of the year. The first 6 months, we kind of crab marketed. And I think by the end of the year, I think we're going to get out of the crab market. Anyways, the Bitcoin price currently is 63,140, which means the sats per dollar, aka how much a single dollar is worth in Bitcoin, aka how much Bitcoin you can buy for a single dollar, is currently at 1,584. The current block height, literally probably the most important number in Bitcoin right now, is the fact that TikTok next block, Bitcoin works exactly as designed. Blocks keep coming in, and we're at block height of 850,258. And with this number that I blows people's mind once they really understand the total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued. I repeat, the total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued is currently at 93.9%. The realized monetary inflation taking fiat currencies to school is at 1.55%. Literally the strongest money in the world, the hardest money in the world. Nothing can even come close to this. It's harder than gold. It's blowing every fiat currency out of the world. This is why we save in Bitcoin, is because people cannot debase your wealth when it is in Bitcoin. Why these numbers are so important once you understand the significance of them. The market cap in fiat terms, aka in dollar terms, is currently at $1.25 trillion. The total public lightning capacity is at 4,929.21 BTC. And I added some new ones because I for some reason I couldn't get some of these numbers in here that I like, but hey, it is what it is. Maybe I actually already added, whatever. Side point. The days since all-time high, 109 days. The decline from all-time high is negative 14.4%. And everyone out here that isn't an ardent Bitcoin maximalist, that doesn't understand what Bitcoin is like, it's so over, boys. Like, wrap it up. Game over. It's going to zero again, and it's only down 14%. It's been a long bear market. I know it's been a long, 2 years now, but the days since all-time high, only 109 days. That's I don't know, a little... 4 months-ish, maybe a little less than 4 months. And I added this one, of course, if you know how Bitcoin works, or rather, excuse me, if you know how Clark Moody's dashboard works, he's plugged into a specific mempool that reads and gives you this information. But the median fee right now is at 11 sats. So, hey, if you are stacking on Bitcoin, if you are stacking on any other Bitcoin exchange, maybe right now is a good time to think about consolidating some UTXOs. All you really need to do is, if you're stacking small amounts of Bitcoin, make sure you send some of your sats to a bigger UTXO, because you do not want to get stuck in a position when the fees raise again that your UTXOs are unspendable. And I'll do a culture on this soon so that you guys can get up to date, because I know new people are coming to the fray and they're not all technical wizards about Bitcoin. And we got to get you guys up to date. Make sure you guys are in the best position to not get wrecked in the future. And that's the whole goal of Simply Bitcoin, is we all made the mistakes. So we come on here and we spread our wisdom so that you don't also have to make the mistakes. But right now might be a good time to consolidate some UTXOs. Just a thought. Anyways, let's get to the numbers. So I got a good clip here. Like I said before, I absolutely love American HODL. He's got a way of speaking to me, my demographic. He's like my big brother. In the 2018 bear market, when I came into Bitcoin, he was out there yelling at us, telling us to sell our cars, drive a moped and stack as many sats as possible. And like I was telling, Jay and Bryson before the show, I literally did sell my car and stack more sats. This is the way. You got to make some sacrifices. You got to make some sacrifices to get them sats. Anyways, this is a great clip because I think it tees up the news with Peter Thiel. We're getting the information from, a grassroots Bitcoiner, a bottom-up approach with American HODL, someone that just put in the hours, put in the time, has been in the market for a long time, still out here optimistic, positive about Bitcoin. And then you'll have the billionaire class's view on Bitcoin. So again, shout out to Bryson and the Simply Bitcoin TV Twitter team for getting this clip on our timeline, making sure you guys are up to date, informed, having fun, entertained, all that good stuff. And I'm just going to read the headline. American HODL gives an optimistic talk on how the American dream isn't dead and how Bitcoin gives us hope instead of nihilism. So I'm going to play this clip. And I know we're not solely an American-based audience, but this is why we love Bitcoin so much. Not just because we're American, but because it gives us hope. It gives us opportunity for the world. All you need to do is save in Bitcoin, HODL that coin for a long time, make sure it's in cold storage, and your life will improve. I've seen it on countless occasions, from all of my friends to, myself, to Nico, to everyone that's on the show today and everyone that's probably in the chat. Bitcoin has a way of fundamentally changing your perspective on the world. And I find it interesting when you get someone that's been in Bitcoin for so long, like all of us have. You're always bullish on Bitcoin. I say it all the time, stay stupidly bull-tarded in Bitcoin. And it's not about overselling Bitcoin. It's just understanding we have no idea how big of an impact Bitcoin will actually have on society. And it's super important for us to stay optimistic. I say it all the time. Optimism is our superpower. In the face of the fiat nihilism, optimism is how we win, because people are looking for a better world. And I don't know if you guys are on other social media platforms right now, but the normies are feeling the pain, and we have the solution, and it is Bitcoin. So enough ranting. This is at 1.25. It is at 1.25. So, it's not too fast, but I want to cut it down a little bit. Here's HODL's take on why you stay optimistic and why you have pure hope in regards to Bitcoin.
I want America to be salvageable, and I think that it is. But I don't know what kind of change is required in order to get us off the path that we're on now. And is that change, does Bitcoin fix this? Is it an incentives problem? Is that change, does it have to start, at a local level? Is it possible to make those changes from the top down? Are we just fucked? Discuss.
I think the two things, one of the things that we were talking about earlier was, is this coordinated against Bitcoin or is it not? Are they trying to shut off the exits? Are they trying to, destroy peer-to-peer currency? Like, all of that stuff, I think, is directly correlated to the crisis that's happening at the southern border, the lax, policies on crime in liberal cities and in sanctuary cities and in blue states. It's the most obvious thing in the world to me that, like, if you want to put in a totalitarian, dictatorship or authoritarian regime or oligopoly, you need to have the people request it. And what's the easiest way to get the people to request it is to terrorize them into requesting it, right? I mean, we've seen this playbook plays out over and over and over again. And so it's an attempt to consolidate power. They want to terrorize us into sort of obedience and, pacification and requesting safety. Please save us from the problem that you created. I mean, to me, like, all of those things are anti-American. A lot of the leadership we have in America is anti-American. A lot of the things that people think and believe in popular sentiments are anti-American. All of that is true, but we're not fucked. And here's why we're not fucked, is because we still have the world's best technologists, best and brightest minds. We are still building the future, even if the people who, are running the country right now are intent on destroying that future. We're building it anyway, okay? And we don't give a fuck. And so we're building these parallel systems. We're trying to enshrine America for another 100 years. We need to clean up the corruption. I mean, the corruption is rampant. Like, nobody wants that. Like, there's a ETF now that's tracking Nancy Pelosi's trades. It's outperforming the S&P 500. So you don't even have to track Nancy's trades yourself. You can buy this ETF. I think it's called NANC. It tracks Nancy and Paul Pelosi's trades, and it outperforms the broad market index funds. Are you fucking kidding me? This is the kleptocracy that we're living in, and everybody can see it. It's so obvious to everybody. Everybody knows it, and yet we all just sit there and we're in like some sort of malaise where it's just like this nihilism is washing over us. We're all like, I don't know, man. Everything's fucked, man. Blah, 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 man. Whatever, dude. And I don't feel that way. I feel optimistic because we own the future. Owning Bitcoin means we own the fucking future, okay? And we have a seat at the table, and we're going to get to say how things operate. And the way I want things to operate is the way the fucking U.S. Constitution says they should fucking operate. The end.
Bars. I love HODL. Okay. One thing I might actually push back on this just to start is the idea that everyone can see the problem. While all of us Bitcoiners, people that are aware and understand what's going on, I think we all know the problem. We could, talk about the problems till we're blue in the face. But I would kind of caveat that a little bit, that there's still a lot of people out there that don't know what the problems are. And this is why we have to have these conversations. This is why we're on YouTube in general, because if people did understand that there was a problem, then the Bitcoin price would have gone nuclear by now. And I say it all the time. The Bitcoin price is a real-time metric of people's understanding of Bitcoin. And I hate to say it, but it does feel like very few people really understand what Bitcoin is, or else they would be Bitcoin maximalists like us, or else they'd be hanging out on Simply Bitcoin with us every single day, or at least just stacking as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. But I still find myself having these conversations with people, and they just fundamentally don't understand what's going on in the world. And actually, I'm going to bring everyone up here. We were talking before the show, like, it really feels, and I had this conversation over the weekend with my buddy Joe Rogers from the Physical Bitcoin magazine. It really feels like we are almost reliving 2008, just in a totally different kind of manifestation of it. Like, if you see social media right now, you're seeing a lot of the Gen Zers and millennials complaining about inflation, complaining about not being able to buy what they're normally buying on groceries. We played that one clip last week of the guy at Walmart who bought the exact same things he bought in 2020 today, and it was $400 versus $100. So people are feeling the pain. And what we said before the show, we're seeing that, the housing market is struggling. Like, who knows? I think we've been saying for a while that we're already kind of in a recession. It's not a public official recession, but we're reliving 2008, and we're kind of in the moment right now of Steve Carell, I think, where he's like, everyone's walking around like they're in an Enya video. They don't understand what the problem is. So while I agree with a lot of the things HODL was saying, I think there's still a huge need for us to educate people out there, show them that there is a problem. But with that caveat being said, I couldn't agree more with what American HODL said, because this is why we do what we do. This is why we are all so obsessed, and all we can think about is Bitcoin, is because we see that Bitcoin will allow a better world. If you know what the problems are, you know that the money's broken, that it's either the system is completely broken or it is designed this way to basically make us slaves and ensure that we can never move up in the ladder of life and not succeed. Or, maybe things are more effed than even they will let you believe. And we're seeing this, and this is one of the constant themes on our show, that the powers that be, I'll let you jump in. Last thought. Yeah. Powers that be need to censor and control, or rather try to control information, because the fiat system is based on trust. And as long as people out there believe that the system is working, they will figure out whatever mechanism they can to sweep it under the rug. And so we're in this weird position right now where all the Bitcoiners, have looked at their feet. We're off the cliff. We are protecting ourselves, but the rest of the world is still following along blindly with the fiat system, with the brainwashing, and they think everything is hunky-dory, that life is good, or they have that pure nihilism and they're pissed off and they don't know what the solution is. And of course we say, It is simply Bitcoin. You just need to stack Bitcoin. Anyways, Bryson, jump in, and then we will get Jay.
Yeah, so I mean, every U.S. politician is very high time horizon because the money's so bad, right? So I mean, that's only being, I guess, exacerbated recently, right? When we're really in forwarding, country decline, right? And so it's listen to American HODL, right? It really reinforces the idea that the American dream is still alive, right? And Bitcoin is keeping it alive, right? So for the vast majority of normies who, are still asleep, stuck in the matrix, right? It's very easy to see, capitalism's bad, right? The American dream isn't alive, right? And they're just very miseducated, right? It's like, well, capitalism isn't bad. Keynesian economics is bad, right? Austrian economics is true capitalism, but we don't live in a true capitalist economy because, well, in 08, 09, right? I mean, we bailed out the banks, right? So you go gamble with other people's money and there's no repercussions. So this isn't capitalism, right? And so if the government can control you and infringe on your rights by creating a catastrophe like a pandemic, then they're going to manufacture these catastrophes and pandemics, right? They're going to gain more control over you, right? They're going to limit your freedom. They're going to control you, right? But now that we have social media for the last 15 years, right, the elites have kind of lost control of everything because now information can be spread around the world instantaneously. And so without their hands, puppet masters over the mainstream media, they're kind of losing control of the narrative and they're panicking. They don't know what to do, right? So
100%. I mean, I think a good culmination of what we've seen this year is that anyone that's awake or, Elon, quote unquote, freeing the bird, you're seeing that the official narratives are just getting dunked on by, the non-autist on the internet, and they're getting fact checked. They're losing their minds. They're calling for more censorship. It's because the truth cannot be stopped. And we have the truth on our side. And that's, if that doesn't make you hopeful, I really don't know what will. Anyways, enough ranting from me. Jay, what's your thoughts on this topic in this video?
Markets are a vessel for discerning truth over time. And just to touch on the complete criminality of the banks, like after 2008, they bundled all these subprime mortgage products into, they bribed the credit rating agencies to say, oh yeah, these subprime mortgage products are great, right? When they were garbage. They just gave out random loans to just pretty much anybody. I mean, it's insane. Teachers, whatever. Yeah, you can buy $1 million house, $1 million house for everybody. And then they shoved these products into their own clients' retirement funds. And when everybody started defaulting on their mortgages, what happened? The bank's gamble turned to nothing, unfortunately. And they got bailouts and bonuses. So fiat is a system that rewards losers, unfortunately. And Bitcoin is the complete opposite. By being a deflationary, permissionless network, Bitcoin is completely upending that, and it's restoring the world to a meritocracy, a system of meritocracy. It rewards merit.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Couldn't agree more, though. The M word scares people out there, Jay. So let's not be extremists here on the internet.
The what?
The meritocracy. Everyone it terrifies people out there, at least in the normie world. But yeah, couldn't agree more. Actually, one of the things that I want to touch on, we're not going to really cover it today, but the idea, and we were talking about it before the show, just Bryson and Jay and I, the idea that most people still fundamentally don't understand that it's not necessarily your house is getting more expensive. It's literally that your dollar is getting decimated and it's losing purchasing power. These are the fundamental messages that we need to get across to everyone and their mother, because most people don't even know, and like the chat was saying, most people don't even know what money is. Most people have no clue about how the financial system world works, but Bitcoin has allowed us, an insight into all of this. We've been able to pierce the veil. We've been able to, decipher all of the signal through the noise and realize it's the money. The money is broken. And this is why we're optimistic about the future, is because we realize once the world gets back on a hard money standard, once the money gets fixed, fundamentally everything downstream from that will get fixed as well. And yes, we are early in this quote unquote Bitcoin experiment, but Bitcoin's running. It's been running for 15 years. It continues to do what we know it's going to do. And it's only going to get better as more people realize.
And that's all it has to do, is keep running. And as long as it keeps running over time, it will restore that ladder of economic mobility and people will have hope. It will restore hope. That's the beautiful part about it. I mean, the reason you have so much nihilism in this world is because people feel like it's a rigged system.
Yep,
And it
100%.
is.
Yeah.
The funny part is it is, right?
100%. All right, let's get into the news, boys and girls. We have a lot to talk about, but before I do that, of course, we got to pay the bills here. So shouts out to Pleb Party Nashville. Our boy Anders is throwing what's probably going to be the best party before Bitcoin Nashville on July 25th. It's at a rustic factory that was built in 1910. It's literally a proof of work, low time preference venue. It's going to be 12 hours of all you can eat, all you can drink. All of your favorite Bitcoiners are going to be there. So you want to get your tickets today. I believe, if I remember, there is only 12 tickets left at the price point of today, which I think it's $212, I believe. So if you're going to Nashville and you want to see all of your friends, you want to get in touch with Bitcoiners, you want to see the whole Simply Bitcoin crew, we will be there. Make sure you go to this party because Anders knows how to throw a great party. And you do not want to be in Nashville just wondering, like, where are all my friends at? They're all going to be at the Pleb Party July 25th, the Pleb Party in Nashville. On that note, guys, let's get into the news because we got a lot to talk about.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more.
All right, you already know the deal, boys and girls. Scan the QR code right there, right there. Make sure you are getting your Bitcoin off exchanges and use the Passport by Foundation. And if you link it with the Envoy, I love all the Bitcoin wallets out there, the Bitcoin only wallets out there, but this might be the easiest one. This is grandma friendly tech. Okay, guys. All right. So as you can tell from the headline, we're going to be talking about Peter Thiel right now. There's a great clip going around, and it's great for us to have this conversation on the show. You can get, the billionaire perspective on Bitcoin, and you'll get the quote unquote, everyday Bitcoiner, the Bitcoin pledge perspective on Bitcoin and where it's headed. But for those that aren't familiar with Peter Thiel, I do want to give a little context for you guys. So, Peter Thiel he's I would say one of the better American entrepreneurs out there, venture capitalists. And as you can say here, of course, it's Wikipedia, guys. So, don't throw tomatoes on that front, but a political activist. And he's a co-founder of PayPal, Palantir Technologies, wink, wink, and Founders Fund, which is what he's been working on lately. And, Thiel had an estimated net worth of $9.7 billion, ranked 213th on the Bloomberg Billionaire Index. I checked that, and at least according to, I had to go to, wait, no, sorry. Was this, okay, sorry. The next one, I was going to say, I had to go to DuckDuckGo to find this, but I didn't. I'm on Google. I just put in Peter Thiel's net worth, $7.4 billion. And I know a lot of Bitcoiners out there recently have been pushing back. It's like, I don't care what billionaires think about Bitcoin. I'm not here for the billionaire class to adopt Bitcoin. I'm here for the bottom up approach of Bitcoin and how this is going to help the everyday person out there save their wealth, make sure they aren't just digital slaves in the fiat system. Totally get that. But for a lot of people out there, when billionaires, when tech entrepreneurs talk about Bitcoin, it has weight. And so people listen. And it's not a surprise that Peter Thiel is part of, can I even say it, the PayPal Mafia? You guys know the PayPal Mafia. He was one of the co-founders of PayPal, which is, of course, digital payments. So it's always funny when we get people that are part of the quote-unquote digital payments ecosystem come out and talk about Bitcoin, because usually they say like, oh, there's problems. Bitcoin's slow. It's never going to have as many transactions as Visa, all that stuff. Well, he didn't say that this time, but I find it interesting that the main context of this video, actually, let me just play the video and then I'll put some context behind it. So here's Michelle. I really like this. You know, this is not financial advice, it's market making. And she kind of leans into like, don't take financial advice from billionaires. They're playing an entirely different game, which I totally agree on. But let's watch this video. It's on normal speed, but let's listen to his own words. Let's see what he thinks.
Are you still convinced? I think it's gotten partially unlocked with the Bitcoin ETF, but then there, you know, probably the part where I'm less convinced of is this question of the sort of ideological founding vision of Bitcoin or these cryptocurrencies as sort of a, you know, cypherpunk, crypto anarchist, libertarian, anti-centralized government thing. You know, this is always, you know, the line.
Isn't that what got you interested in the first place?
That's what I thought was terrific about it. And then, you know, the question is, does it really work that way, or, you know, has that thread somehow gotten lost? And so when people in the FBI tell me that they'd much rather have criminals use Bitcoin than $100 bills, it suggests that maybe, you know, maybe it's not quite working the way it was supposed to.
Have you sold any of your Bitcoin?
I still hold some. I've you know, there are all these ways I didn't buy as much as I should have, and I'm not sure it's going to go up that dramatically from here.
From here?
Yeah, I think we got the ETF edition, and I don't know who else buys it quickly from here.
Some interesting investment advice. That actually surprised me, because I don't think I've heard you. I thought you were still all in.
I still have a small position. It probably still can go up some, but it's going to be a volatile, bumpy ride. And I had a dual reason. One was this sort of, you know, ideological, decentralized future of computing world that I really do believe in, really believe would be better. And it seemed like the perfect vehicle for that for such a long time. And I am just much less convinced of that. And so
interesting.
So maybe Larry Fink with the BlackRock ETF surrendered to the forces, the anti-ESG forces, or maybe it's more like Bitcoin's been co-opted by them, and I worry it was more the latter.
Okay, different question.
Interesting. I think the main takeaway, guys, is this idea that Bitcoin is no longer a, you know, cypherpunk libertarian hard money. I would push back against that. I would fully say that it really sounds kind of like Bitcoin derangement syndrome here. Like he said it a few times. And let's everyone in the chat is also going hard. And let's not overlook the idea that he was just like squirming the whole time. You know, he was stuttering. It seemed like he could barely get the thought out. Makes you wonder where that message is coming from. And I've been saying this for a long time on the show. The billionaire FUD playbook is still at play. You FUD Bitcoin so you can stack and make sure you get as much Bitcoin as possible. And then when you know that your bags are packed, you unleash it and you say, oh, look, I love Bitcoin. And I think this is one of those times where we're seeing Peter Thiel come out and do something similar. He even said it very directly in this clip himself. He's like, I wish I had more Bitcoin. I sold some Bitcoin. So we've seen this play out a lot throughout the years. And this is what I wanted to touch on first and foremost is, you know, I had to go to DuckDuckGo to find this information because Google wouldn't find this for me. And it's simply DuckDuckGo, PayPal deplatforming. And there's countless stories in the last couple of years over the long run of PayPal of them deplatforming customers for various different reasons. So, you know, when it comes from Peter Thiel talking about like, oh, Bitcoin's no longer cypherpunk libertarian money, it does make you wonder, considering that he was a part of PayPal and they also strayed a long away from their initial ethos. And I still think it's important to be paranoid and wonder, you know, whether Bitcoin is being led astray, whether it's been captured and all that good stuff. And I mean, we say it all the time. Yeah, Larry Fink's got a huge bag of Bitcoin. And that doesn't mean that he's got more power over Bitcoin because of everyone out there with nodes that are ensuring, verifying the blockchain for themselves. And of course, all of the developers out there making sure that it's not getting co-opted. But I think it's important for us to at least keep our head on a swivel. But with that being said, there is some interesting news on this front. Remember what I say about the big billionaire FUD playbook. Well, this article came out when this clip came out from the block. And, it goes, Peter Thiel continues holding Bitcoin despite reservations. You just heard his reservations. But let's look into what he's doing on the back end. So in February, Reuters reported that Peter Thiel's venture capital firm, Founders Fund, had invested $100 million in Bitcoin last year at a price below $30,000. Founders Fund reportedly first began investing in Bitcoin in 2014, making $1.8 billion by selling before the 2022 market collapse. And wait, is it not here? It's also, he's investing in mining infrastructure through Founders Fund. So it's interesting on the one end, of course, he's saving in Bitcoin, and now he's publicly saying, oh, I have reservations about Bitcoin. It might have got co-opted by the ETF, though there might be some, price gains because of the ETF. He's concerned whether Larry Fink has captured the Bitcoin market. I would argue the other way, but Shinobi does drop a really good point here. And if you don't know Shinobi, he's an editor at Bitcoin Magazine as well. He's one of those anon people on Twitter that is constantly ringing the alarm, making sure your head's on a swivel, making sure you're not complacent and falling asleep. So I think this is a great take. And he's been saying this for a while. And also kudos to his partner, his fellow coworker at Bitcoin Magazine, Mark Goodwin, who has been doing the rounds with Whitney Webb, also kind of saying something of similar, that we have to ensure that Bitcoin doesn't get co-opted by Wall Street, which if it does, then what are we doing here? This is the whole point of Bitcoin, is that it cannot be co-opted by these people. And we're in that battle right now. And I think a lot of people that aren't just stuck on the hopium, as much as I say stay bull-hearted, I'm still constantly paranoid, keeping my head on a swivel and wondering whether Bitcoin is exactly what I think it is. And I think this is healthy for all us Bitcoiners to do. Anyways, with that said, Shinobi goes, if even someone like Peter Thiel, a veritable establishment spook, calling out Bitcoin becoming increasingly captured by the establishment doesn't make it click for people, then I don't know what else to say. So Shinobi's not necessarily saying that Bitcoin is co-opted by Bitcoin, but what he's saying is we got to be aware and keep our head on a swivel that this is a potential. This is a very real risk. And of course, we're seeing this play out right now, especially considering all the stuff we covered last year, what we covered at the beginning of this year. We're seeing that the establishment is fighting us. We've been seeing the central banks attack Bitcoin. We're seeing now that Larry Fink comes into Bitcoin, he's trying to tokenize all of the world. So it does make you wonder a little bit. I know I've seen a lot of friends also say something similar, like, wow, I was cheering on the ETF, and I thought it was a good thing. And now I'm kind of wondering whether it was a good thing, because now if Larry Fink's on our side, some might say the evilest man of the 21st century is on our side. Are we really doing what we think we're doing? Are we really living up to the cypherpunk ethos that Hal Finne and Satoshi and Adam Back created for us with Bitcoin? And there is a very big conversation amongst Bitcoiners in the Bitcoin culture about people either just being pure number go up maximalists and not necessarily caring about the freedom ethos of Bitcoin. While I think it's all intertwined, and I think it's important for us to keep our head on a swivel and ensure that Bitcoin ethos, first principles, do continue to be propagated, and people run nodes. People are able to take Bitcoin into custody and ensure that we don't just bend the knee and we don't just simp for every billionaire, all the institutions coming into Bitcoin, the nation states coming into Bitcoin. I think it is important to have a healthy discussion around this. And even though Peter Thiel, could barely keep a thought together, a sentence together, I think there is, a very real thread of all of us wondering, okay, is Bitcoin as decentralized as we thought it was? Is it the freedom money that we think it is? I think most of us would agree that it is. But the fact we're having these conversations, I think, is super important. But the irony is not lost on me that Peter Thiel, a billionaire, part of the PayPal mafia, is out here telling us oh, I'm not bullish on Bitcoin. It's not going to pump. I sold a lot of my Bitcoin. I wish I had more Bitcoin. I think it's captured, bro. Trust me, bro. You don't want this Bitcoin. There's better games. Yeah, exactly. So there's things to consider. And the reason we bring up people such as Peter Thiel on the show constantly is because for lack of better terms, and as much as we might not like it, a lot of people out there still look at the quote unquote authorities out here in the tech space, trust the experts, and they still give credence to what they say. Their words still have weight. And personally, it just seems like he's falling into the billionaire FUD playbook, FUD Bitcoin, stack Bitcoin. I mean, he said himself, I don't have as much Bitcoin as I wish I had. And so they're trying to keep the price low so that they can stack Bitcoin. Maybe he's doing some cover for Larry Fink and co out there so that they can all stack more Bitcoin. Who knows? But I think it's an important conversation to have. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Jay. Jay, what's your thoughts on this?
So regardless of social status, like Bitcoin is basically for everybody, in my opinion. It's for the poorest person. It's for the richest person in society. And I don't think the governments are capable of co-opting Bitcoin. I think they'll try and go for the pools. They'll try and go for who compiles the blocks. But there's always going to be a tactic to combat that. So if they want to make all the pools OFAC compliant, people are just going to start pointing their hash in different directions. They're going to start pointing their hash rate towards pools that aren't complying with the state.
Yeah, totally. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And man, this is one of the reasons why I do love Bitcoiners, is because we agree on like 99% of all of our worldviews, but we will fight to the death for that last 1%. And that's what keeps the game theory of Bitcoin going. As one of the OG memers out there, he says Bitcoin is a Mexican standoff. And we're all, looking at our Bitcoin, and we're ensuring that nothing messes up the Bitcoin network. And I think that's what is super important as a Bitcoiner, is to usher in the Bitcoin network for your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, for the rest of, like Sailor says, the next 1,000 years of humanity, so that the planet Earth has a better money, so that we can build on a strong money, so that the wealth of the world doesn't just get siphoned off into the pockets of a few wealthy out there. So totally agree. Bryson, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think another concern that I have is that all of the very wealthy individuals, usually like with bottom-up adoption, it's phenomenal for the middle class, the lower class. I think especially with the ETFs now, they're being completely omitted. We're going to super high net worth individuals right away, right? Because that's where the most money is. So I don't think these ETF providers are actually potentially up to anything nefarious, right? They see Bitcoin ETFs as a phenomenal way to rack in loads of cash. So they still see it as a fiat income stream, right? So they might not even be trying to co-opt Bitcoin, right? If they can have 1 million Bitcoin custody with like Coinbase, and they send Bitcoin to $1 million a coin, and they're taking 15 basis points a year, right? Think about the income revenue or the revenue flow that they'd be getting from that, right? So I don't know how concerning that should be. I don't think it's necessarily hey, we're trying to buy all the Bitcoin. Well, they're trying to buy all the Bitcoin, but I don't think it's necessarily for like a nefarious purpose.
Love it. Love it. I mean, hey, to be fair, I'm trying to buy all the Bitcoin too. I totally get it.
Buy all the Bitcoin I can.
Yeah, exactly. We're playing a game of Hungry Hippo here. We all want as much Bitcoin as possible. So I totally get the incentives, but it is very interesting when you see people that are pretty much well entrenched in the fiat system essentially say, like, trust me, bro, you don't want no part of this Bitcoin thing. It's really not what you think it is. You don't want none of this freedom, man. Be more compliant.
That's the problem with Peter Schill, right? Is he's like, well, who else is going to allocate to Bitcoin? I mean, nobody's allocated to Bitcoin, right? You go talk in Normie land, no one knows about it, right? And so we're still so early that if you go and DCA $1,000 into Bitcoin a month, people will call you crazy and say you don't know what you're doing, right? But if you have $1,000 a month car payment, right, and $5,000 in the bank, right, they're like, "Oh, congratulations, good on you. You're doing the thing. You're a cog in the machine," right?
Totally. Wait, Jay, I think this might be a good segment to tell the people your crazy Bitcoiner story that you were telling us before the show. So let's do a short version of it.
Yeah, I gotcha. So I wrote my book, Downloading Divinity.
And we'll talk all about it, but yeah.
All right. I started writing mine around the end of 2020 up until the end of 2021. It came ready for sale November 2022 when FTX started collapsing. So everybody in my hometown thinks I'm like a Bitcoin nut job. I mean, they saw the price go from 69K to like 16K whenever I was ready to sell my book. And I just doubled down and confirmed their beliefs by going around my hometown dressed up as a Bitcoin and holding up signs in front of Wells Fargo like, the banks are stealing from you, opt out with Bitcoin, or in front of the Lee County Board of Elections office, your votes won't save you, saving Bitcoin will. And I made a gigantic post announcing the release of my book on Facebook. But the reason I wrote Downloading Divinity is because I believe the most common misconception I've come across when interacting with people is they don't really understand what Bitcoin's purpose is. Just because you can't go to the grocery store and buy stuff with it, a lot of people believe it's useless. And that stems from the fact that most people, even those who study finance at depth, never tend to ask themselves, what is money? And pursue that question to its logical end. So money is the highest value possible use case in an economy. And today we have a big problem with our money. We have thousands of different currencies across all sorts of countries on Earth, and that creates a lot of friction in world trade. It's a global barter system, basically, all with exchange rates that are constantly shifting against one another. So the supplies of all these currencies are manipulated by central banks who contract and expand credit to dilute the cost of capital. And by diluting the cost of capital, they devalue your time. So my book goes into the chapters of how Bitcoin fixes this, basically, and what is Bitcoin doing for humanity, its purpose. But I think the most beautiful thing of all, it's going to restore hope in society. And that was kind of how I ended the note of the book.
Love it. Yeah, we'll get into more in the culture, but I wanted to emphasize that little story because we're still early. We're still the Bitcoin nut jobs out there, even though
a nut job.
Yeah, even though Bitcoin's been around for 15 years, and once you're in Bitcoin, like you fall into what Peter Thiel's saying. It's like, oh, I've been in Bitcoin for a decade now, and I don't think there's going to be any gains in Bitcoin. And I always do a very simple thought experiment. It's like go outside and talk to normies and ask them what they think about Bitcoin. You don't even need to tell them you're a Bitcoiner. Just, probe a little bit, and you drop the B word on them. And usually most people either have a complete misunderstanding of Bitcoin, or they're just like, they couldn't care less. And to me, that just shows that there's still incredible upside to Bitcoin, because very few people hold Bitcoin. And even within the people that do hold some Bitcoin and quote unquote crypto, very few people truly understand Bitcoin, like all of us psychopaths in the chat. So we're still early. All right. On that note, let's get into the culture, because I do want to talk with Jay about everything he's working on, but I do got to plug the Orange Pill app. Guys, make sure you download the Orange Pill app. Do not be the solo crazy Bitcoiner in your community. Make sure you're going to the Bitcoin meetups. Make sure you're meeting other Bitcoiners in real life. Stack friends who stack sats, guys. As you know, Bitcoin will take over the world, and you want to be a part of the new, I don't want to say financial elites, but the financial elites. Bitcoiners will have all the capital, and you want to take your cyber relationships into meet space. It's cool talking to your friends on Twitter, but it's even cooler when you hang out with them in real life and you actually build a local community, the fabled circular economy, your local circular economy of Bitcoiners. This is how we ensure that we have strength in numbers. Make sure you are meeting and hanging out with Bitcoiners in real time. Download the Orange Pill app today and get in touch with more Bitcoiners. On that note, let's get into the culture. This is going to be a good one.
The Daily Culture.
All right, boys and girls, KABOOMRACKS. Get in touch with the boys over at KABOOMRACKS. Best place to buy, sell, and host your mining equipment. If you have questions about whether you should be mining or not, whether it's a good time to be mining, get in touch with the KABOOMRACKS team, and they will walk you through it. They will hear out all your concerns. They will, set you on the right path. They're the goats out there. I was just hanging out with them last week in Miami. Absolutely loved them. But hey, maybe you don't have the right electricity prices around your house. Maybe your wife's going to yell at you because there's a loud, fan in your garage and it's driving her crazy. Maybe you need to host a Bitcoin miner. Maybe you're thinking about it. So again, get in touch with the KABOOMRACKS team. They have a special right now on the Bitmain Antminer S19K Pro, 120 terahash, instant hosting. Once the payment goes through, you're hashing, you're getting sats. So get in touch with the KABOOMRACKS team and get that started today. Okay, Jay, we did just talk about it a little bit. So I don't know if you want to talk about what got you into writing this book or where you want to take it. You already did kind of cover what your book is about. Actually, I'm going to tee you up because you did kind of already touch on it, but so you can re-listen to the story. But I have one of your threads here, and I absolutely love one of the points you made. And I want to just give you a platform to elaborate on this. And it's the idea of the importance and the significance of an honest form of money and the separation of money and state. So, Jay, what caused you to be the crazy Bitcoiner, bro?
Yep. So, yeah, I think separating money and state is the most necessary problem, or it's the most necessary solution that we have to the biggest problem in society. But yeah, I started writing that book in 2020. It was ready for sale in 2022. I really don't do any marketing for the book, to be honest. It's just me talking shit to shitcoiners and statists on Twitter, and the occasional Twitter DM like, hey, can I buy your book? And I'm like, yeah, sure. If you want to pay in Bitcoin, it's a 10% discount. So
love it, bro. Absolutely love it. Okay. So let's elaborate a little bit. Why do you stress the idea of an honest money? And I think this is one of the things that few people really understand in normie world, and they obviously don't even understand what money is or why it's broken. So maybe touch on that. I know you have some notes there. So maybe if you want to rehash some of that stuff, you can also hit that as well.
Yeah, so for thousands of years, humanity just saved money. Basically, we had gold for thousands of years, and unfortunately, the gold market became papered over. They started offering gold derivatives, and they used that to suppress the price of gold, unfortunately. So gold, in a sense, it's kind of captured. But Bitcoin, it solves a lot of the problems that led to gold being captured in the first place. It's completely portable. You can send it anywhere on Earth. So because they can't actually stop the movement of it, I don't really believe that it's going to be papered over like gold did. And also, it's publicly auditable. So you can actually see, okay, is this exchange actually do they actually have this much Bitcoin in their reserves as they say they do? And if they don't, clients will move to different exchanges, more honest ones. So it will end a lot of the dishonest practices that we have in banking. It will end fractional reserve banking. It will end central banking over time. So that is the most important thing that could happen in society. And I believe that if you allocate your money to the highest value problem, you'll get the highest value reward.
Love it.
Seems risky, but I don't really think so. As it seems.
I mean, I say it all the time, sats are my stable coin. It's not that the Bitcoin price is volatile. It's not that the Bitcoin network is volatile. Literally a new block comes in roughly every 10 minutes. It's stable as possible. You know what the monetary policy of Bitcoin will be hundreds of years down the road, if not thousands of years down the road. And once you can wrap your brain around that and you realize that the alternative is, 12 people on a meeting every other couple of months or every month telling you what the interest rates are, you start to realize that Bitcoin is the stable thing in the world, that everything else is volatile in response, or rather putting a mirror to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is stable. So everything is in flux, and Bitcoin is the only thing that is stable. But I do want to hit on something that was a part of that thread, Jay, that I think would stress a great point that we covered with the Peter Thiel stuff. And it was an opinion that you put in the thread. I can drop it for you guys in the chat. It's the idea that attacks are usually top down, and why you think that is, and how the truth about Bitcoin emerges from the bottom up. And so I think it's a great point to talk about on today's show, considering the topic.
All right, I love it. All right, so if you look at mainstream media nowadays, it seems like they all tend to have the same talking points, right? And in my opinion, it goes back to this old CIA program called Operation Mockingbird. And that's why they all have these same talking points. Bitcoin is the biggest disruptor to Operation Mockingbird possible. And I mean, here we are on Simply Bitcoin. We're talking about stuff that you never get to hear on CNBC or MSNBC. So yeah, Bitcoin, its truth emerges from a grassroots bottom-up basis by its users who've actually put in the time to deeply study it, past shallow news headlines and stuff of that nature.
Totally agree. And on that point, another message that I got from your thread is the idea that the importance of every one of us to defend Bitcoin and why you believe there are no Bitcoin experts. And I think like this is such a good theme from today's show, just like exposing people to these ideas that like you don't have to be, you know, an OG Bitcoiner. Like you don't have to have your credentials to be noticed in the Bitcoin community. You just gotta work from first principles. Like us, we just made a show and you guys love it because we're not just out here lying, and we kind of know what we're talking about a little bit. So Jay, why is there no Bitcoin experts, and why is it so important for every single one of us to put our hat in the ring?
Yeah. So as you know, Abdi, I mean, Bitcoin's something that overlaps a massive amount of disciplines. I mean, cryptography, mathematics, history, internet scaling layers. The list could go on and on. So I don't really believe that there's any one person who could just master all of these things at once. So that's why I just completely dismissed the concept that there would be any experts in Bitcoin. I believe there's a lot of people who know their stuff. I mean, I came up listening to like Andreas Antonopoulos videos, and to anybody listening to this right now, I'd say that's a great place to start. But I consider myself a student of Bitcoin. I've learned a lot from just observing people on Twitter, listening to Twitter, reading Twitter threads, listening to you guys here on Simply Bitcoin. So I just consider myself a student of Bitcoin, but I also believe that you can still offer your voice to people as a student of Bitcoin, and there is some legitimacy to that.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I think the biggest indicator of success is not the credentials, you know, like who should you be listening to? It's people that are successful, that have accomplished what you want in your life. And this is why I always say, like, you're a walking billboard for Bitcoin. And it's super important for every single one of us to not necessarily just defend Bitcoin, but to be walking proponents of Bitcoin. And like you said, Jay, it's like, hey, we just put in the time. But the biggest indicator of success for us is that we're happier, we're fitter, we have more wealth than we've ever had before. And it's simply because we stack sats, we took it into cold storage, we put in the time to understand what's going on in the world and on the Bitcoin network. Yeah, then the goats.
Nodes.
But man, it's so awesome to be a part of the Bitcoin network, or just being a Bitcoiner and stacking sats and realizing like, I can trust myself. I know what's right from wrong. I did some research. You know, I communicated with my gut and my brain, and hey, my life has gotten better. And what better signs of success than that when you live a better life? And this is what I constantly say. Anyways, I've been ranting enough. Bryson, you want to pop in here, ask Jay a couple questions?
Oh, I was just gonna rant too, but okay.
Okay, no, rant away.
Yeah, and that so what separates Bitcoiners from doom and gloom boomers is we have an out. We have something to be positive about, right? So you can sit here and just be pessimistic and point out all of the problems, right? I mean, a lot of people today recognize those problems, right, in society with the money, right? The problem, and this is the age-old debate of politics, right? Two-party the political system, right? Is both people agree that we need to change the government because it's not working correctly, but the normies don't understand how broken it is, right? So they're both sitting here, they're trying to enact regulation on opposing sides and say, okay, well, we need to get rid of this, we need to implement this. The whole system needs to get torn down, right? And so with Bitcoin, right, this is the solution to all of our problems, right? So a lot of people have issues with Bitcoiners because a lot of us sound very pessimistic when we're pointing out problems like, oh, look, you're not actually getting wealthier, you're actually losing purchasing power by saving in fiat, right? Or saving in a bond, getting 4% a year, right? But the difference is we are positive and have an optimistic outlook because we have Bitcoin, right? So fiat is shrinking in purchasing power over time, and it basically incentivizes people to spend money immediately, right? So saving is cost prohibitive, right? And this is what's led to the bad money, which is making housing affordable, which is making millennials, Zoomers hop on TikTok and rant about how unfair life is and how good the boomers had it, right? So it's just a phenomenal time to be alive. And if people would open their eyes, and this is kind of where we come in, right, as educators in this space, is we now have a phenomenal opportunity to open everyone else's eyes. And I think the world's going to be a much better place when we're done. And it's a wonderful experience meeting Bitcoiners in person, online, right? Because there's always something that someone else can teach you that you don't know, and there's something you can always teach another person, right? So if I walk up to a Bitcoiner at my local meetup, right, they might know a lot more about Nostr, right, but I might know more about mining, right, whatever. So it's very interesting how there's a very niche. Bitcoin's still very niche, but it's very niche, but there's still so many varying perspectives, and that kind of 1% where ideologically we all understand that the money's broken. We still vary a lot in the other 1%, right, as you were talking to earlier, and I find that it's very wonderful.
It's hilarious. Bitcoiners fight over a very small portion of what we agree on. But with that being said, I do want to say, with Zoomers like Bryson, I think we might be all right. So, we got some Bitcoin Zoomers out here. So there's hope for us yet. The children might be all right. Anyways, Jay, I do want to give you a couple, last moments on today's show, not just to plug what you're working on, but what is the last 2 sats? It could be about people's car. Oh wait, no, actually, let's do the car story. All right, let's do the check engine light meme, and then we'll do your last 2 sats, and then we'll plug where they can get the book.
Oh God, I'll give you the quick summary of it. Okay, so it was towards the end of last year. I was mowing my lawn, and I got to the end, put the lawnmower away, and I took a step back for a little while, and I look back, somebody's stealing my lawnmower. They're running off with this thing. I'm like, what in the heck is going on? So I jump in my car, I peel off after them, and while I'm trying to keep up with them, I tried to cut the curb around this McDonald's, and I hit somebody's trailer, basically. And I was like, oh my God. I ran out, I gave him my card real quick. I was like, hey, if I did any damage, let me know, but I got to catch this guy who just took my lawnmower. So the guy parked right in front of Davison Steaks in Sanford, and I got out. I was mad because my car's messed up. I was like, hey, who did this? The guy turns around, and he was like, oh yeah, that was me. I was like, well, that's my lawnmower. So we get into a squabble over that. Basically, I go back home. My car's messed up. I'm sitting at home for the next few days with my first car, which is a piece of junk. And I had to go to work in that, check engine light, Christmas lights all over the dashboard. So I take a picture of it and I put it on Twitter. And I was like, if your morning drive to work doesn't look like this, then you're short Bitcoin. And of course, that kind of took off. And I just started making a bunch of memes about it. And, that's part of the beauty of Bitcoin. Is it seems like such a small community, but it has our memes have major ripple effects throughout the internet, So I've seen memes from Bitcoin Twitter that started on Bitcoin Twitter that end up on like Instagram, all over the place. And we have a much bigger say than we tend to think in the world around us.
Couldn't agree more. And on that point, I think it's important to stress one of the classic memes of, if your car is younger than Bitcoin, you are short Bitcoin.
Yeah, but just adding to that, I'm actually on Look Into Bitcoin right now, and I know. So I think I might be in trouble for showing some fake news on Twitter too now, because I'm looking on Bitcoin addresses with a balance greater than $1, and there's about 50 million addresses. Right, so I think someone was saying on Twitter, a lot of people, that like 20% of Americans own Bitcoin, and I was like, well, how can 20% of Americans own Bitcoin, right? Because if only 50 million people have an address, right? So I don't know if I guess they're including people with exchanges, right? Like Coinbase, Kraken, stuff like that, because they don't actually have wallets.
Wait, is it the headline 50 million in the U.S.? Because
or 20% of the U.S. would be about 50 million people, right?
Yeah.
So, or 60. So even more than that. So I don't think we've got as much adoption as some people are touting.
Got it.
Yet going to
Bryson's fact checking himself live. Though our Simply Bitcoin TV Twitter account is the best place to get your news, even if Bryson's wrong sometimes. All right. Anyways, Jay, I'm gonna tee you up with the same question that I was going to before the check engine light meme popped up again in my head. It could be about life. It could be about the cars. It could be about Bitcoin. But what is the last message? What's the last 2 sats you want to leave with the audience?
Well, first of all, fix the money, fix the world, and then fix your car in that order. That's the best way to go. And I just wanted to touch on, there's a lot of nihilism in the world today. And, you go on TikTok, you see everybody complaining about like the cost of living crisis and There's a lot of people complaining about the problem. The good thing is you can be a part of the solution. And the solution requires active participation in the largest monetary social consensus on earth. But you have to have it in you to go against the grain and go against the government a little bit. And I just want to read, shout out to Pastor Coin, Alan Armstrong. He's better at this stuff than me, but I just wanted to read this one little Bible verse real quick. It's Ephesians 6:12. It's my favorite one. But for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And that's what Bitcoin is. It's a battle for good against the authorities.
Let's fucking go. Okay, love it. Great way to end the show. But before we sign off, Jay, if anyone is looking to get themselves a downloading Divinity, where can they get it? Do they get in touch with you? Is it on Amazon? Just plug the book and then we'll roll out today.
Yeah, so the best way to do it is just contact me on Twitter. Send me a Twitter DM and I'll send you out a copy with the tracking information and everything. I prefer payments in Bitcoin. Most of the people who pay, of course, are going to pay in Bitcoin, Lightning wallets. That's all perfect.
Love it, bro. Appreciate it. All right. Well, that was today's show. First show of the second half of the year. It's July 1st, episode 1021. On that note, shouts out to Bryson. Bryson, really appreciate you filling in today.
We're rolling into the 3 most bullish months historically for Bitcoin, right? July, August, and November. So the bears are just going to get slaughtered.
Let's go. All right, guys. Well, go follow the Simply Bitcoin TV account and Bryson's personal. Bryson, actually plug your account. You'll see Bryson's work on the Twitter timelines. Bryson, what's your Twitter?
It's Bryson Fout. I think it's literally just my name. Let me double check.
I think it's Bryson _ Fout.
It might, underscore, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, go follow him, but also follow Simply Bitcoin TV. You'll see Bryson's work every single day. Anyways, Jay, same to you, bro. Let's plug your Twitter, and we'll roll today's episode out.
Yep. So my Twitter is @FinnyJ. It's right there at the bottom. Oh, there we go.
Love it, bro. Well, hey, really appreciate you coming on. It's been a great show, jam-packed with information and some entertainment today. We're starting Monday off strong.
Love to be on.
Let's go. And some great fashion, bro. The robe.
I appreciate it. Maybe I'll have to start selling these too.
Hey, hit them in the chat or tag them on Twitter if you want one. Tag them on Twitter.
We all disagree on the sat symbol, so I'll just make a million different sat symbols.
Love it. All right, Jay. Well, hang out behind the scenes for a little bit while I wrap this up. All right, guys. That was today's episode 1021, July 1st, 2024. As you guys already know, keep stacking, get outside, touch some grass, get a workout in, call your mother or your father or your sister, brother, loved ones. Make sure your relationships are strong. This is how we win. And on that note, I will be back tomorrow and Wednesday hosting the show. Nico will be back on Thursday, but same Simply Bitcoin signal. We love you guys. Smash the like button, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until tomorrow, I hope you guys have a good day. Peace out.
It was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.